Hi everyone, it's me, Tim. Today I want to talk about showcasing your work. I've talked on this channel about making games, making demos for your games, making game design portfolios to try to get a job. But I've never really talked about how exactly how you should put them together and what you should decide on to show in them. In fact, Shakirovich Dev, during my game design portfolio video, left this comment. This is a good video, but I think what most people struggle with is how to effectively showcase all those things that you laid out. Would you do a video about it? I think it's going to be very helpful. So that's what I want to do. I'm going to talk about showcasing your work. And this isn't just in your game design portfolio. This is in your game itself. This is in a demo for your game. These are even for things like game trailers that usually are like 15, 30 seconds or a minute. Or the same rules even apply if you want to talk about eventually doing press interviews or podcasts. What I'm going to talk about are things that I always go through with my coworkers and the comms people, communications, the director and the people assigned to the project. These are things we always go through for everything we're going to talk about the game. They talk about talking points and coming up with, memeable quotes and stuff like that. What I basically want to talk to you about, it breaks down into three things. How to decide what you want to talk about, what you want to show, how to show it, and how much time you got. Though, if you can answer those three questions about your particular project, I think it'll go a long way for you knowing how to showcase your work. So let's start with asking yourself what you want to show. I think there's a bunch of questions that you need to ask because I don't know what your game is. I don't know what you're trying to do. So ask yourself first, what is special about your game? What is it that made it special to you? Why did you want to make it? And then ask yourself, what is it about my game that I want people to notice? Like if they go in to play this game, what do I want them to take away from this game or this demo or this trailer or this interview? What do you want them to take away and think about? What do you want them to tell other people? What do you want them to go to their friends and go, wow, you won't believe this game. It has this. Or I just saw a game trailer and I'm super excited because the game does this. Now, this can be a whole bunch of things. This is why I find it very difficult. Sometimes people ask what sound like very simple questions, and I have trouble answering because the answer is so dependent on your exact circumstance. So let me explain what I mean by that. Here are some things that you might want to showcase about your game. I'm just going to say game. Whether it's demo, game design portfolio, game trailer, I'll just say game. Does it have a unique mechanic? Is there something fun and different that you can do in combat? Or in dialogue? Or just when you're walking around and exploring and solving puzzles or whatever? What is that something that's unique to your game that you've never seen this mechanic, or you've never seen it implemented this way, or you've never seen it used this way? Maybe your game doesn't have any instances. So it's a big open world and there's never a loading screen once the game starts up. That's interesting. Or maybe you do have instances, but NPCs cross them the same way players do. So if you run out of a dungeon and instance out, the monster instance out right behind you. If you run into a town, through the town gate, an instance load, the monster chases you right through that. Is that interesting? And there are some games that have done that, but how are you going to use that? Maybe you're going to use it somehow differently. Maybe there's never a safe zone for the player because anything in your game can go anywhere. Maybe your mechanics are in the story. Maybe you have a unique way of branching the story. Maybe you let the player undo past choices in a very interesting, controlled way. So the player can go, I'm not afraid to make story choices anymore because I do have an opportunity to undo them. Maybe it costs me money. Maybe it costs me time. Maybe every time I do it, it causes some creatures in the game to be a little stronger because I'm messing with temporal paradoxes. Who knows? Maybe what's memorable about your game are the characters. Maybe you've written some really, really interesting characters and it's a story-based game and you want to show that off. Maybe they look interesting. Maybe they have really cool abilities when you're adventuring with them. They can come along with you as a companion. Or maybe they're really cool enemies that you have to fight and have these really cool, unusual abilities. Maybe it's the personalities you want to showcase. You've written some really interesting, cool, hopefully not sarcastic, NPCs, and you want to showcase that. Great. If that's what you want people to know about your game, that's what you put in your demo or your trailer or your game design portfolio. Maybe you're a level designer and you've made really beautiful levels. Maybe the architecture is amazing. Like, people are going to screenshot this. People are just going to stop and look. Maybe it's got wonderful views, lots of vistas, of sunsets and beaches and cliffs and colorful, lush vegetation. Or maybe it's just got huge areas and these vistas show off just how enormous your game is. And that when you go and stand somewhere and look at this vista, if you see it, you can go there. I've seen more than one game where they point that out in a trailer and then multiple times in an interview. If you can see it, you can get there. That's kind of cool. So, very unique to you, your game, your trailer, your demo, your portfolio. What do you want to show off? Then, once you've decided what you want to show off, you have to think about how you want to show it. And just remember, going into this, I always have this rule that showing is better than telling. So don't tell me you have an interesting NPC. Show me some dialogue. Show me some cutscenes where they're doing something interesting. Don't tell me you have beautiful levels. Show me. Don't tell me you have interesting combat. Show me. People want to see beauty. They don't want to be told, okay, there's going to be things in this game that's beautiful. Now let's move on. People want to laugh, not be told that something's funny. When you say something, too, think soundbite. That's what I was trying to think of earlier. Soundbite. It's got to be catchy. It's got to be short. It's got to be things you want people to quote. If you do your job right, you will see people quoting that. If you put these catchy little sound bites in your design portfolio, you might hear someone use that sound bite when they're interviewing you. If you put it in a trailer, you'll see people using that sound bite on forums and like, oh, I can't wait to play this game. Sound bite. If you use it in an interview and then you hear the future interviewers saying that sound bite back to you, you know you're onto something. I used to say things and then see it show up in print, when magazines were a thing. And I was like, that sound bite has now gotten a life of its own. And it's a way of conveying what our game is about in a very short, tiny way. So this is something that you have to work on. And if you're an artist, the equivalent of a soundbite is a piece of art that captures what you're talking about when you say your art is unusual. Does it look unusual? If your art is beautiful, is it beautiful? If your art is exotic or strange, or you're making a weird Escher-esque, non-Euclidean game, show me. And then finally, and probably one of the most important questions that you need to ask that a lot of people don't ask is, how much time do you have to get this point across? Because if you're going in for an interview, you may want to ask, how long is the interview going to last? And they may say, well, it's an all-day interview, but it's broken into 30 minutes with the programmers and 30 minutes with these artists and 30 minutes with the producers. And you will probably want to say something different in all those interviews because you're talking to people who have a particular lens. So you may have to come up with different sound bites and different ways of showing your portfolio to those different people. If you make a game demo, you usually have a few minutes. People might play your game demo for a few minutes, and if you haven't shown them something interesting in those first few minutes, they stop. Doesn't matter if you have a 30-minute demo. Doesn't matter if you made a 30-minute video of gameplay. If you don't catch people in the first few minutes, they're gone. Game trailers are even harder. When we first started making game trailers decades ago, they were 2 minutes long. Then suddenly everything was a minute. Then 30 seconds. Now we have 15-second game trailers. Do you know how hard it is to try to capture the essence of your game in 15 seconds? And I've been told the reason for this is people have short attention spans and you just got to grab them and hold them. Now, this happened, though, way before TikTok and YouTube Shorts and anything like that. People never really had good attention spans. But now you have even less. You just don't have much time to get people interested in your game. And if you're too wordy, if you're too lengthy, it's like, I'm going to show you this vista, and then this vista from another point, and then this vista from another point, another point, another point. A lot of people are like, it's the jungle again. Basically, if you waste the viewer's time, they will click off or zone out or move on, and you do not get a second chance. Remember, that old adage that you only get one chance at a first impression is very true for your game, or your demo, or your trailer, or your game design portfolio. And when you go in for an interview, you want to make sure that the impression any of those things have left is the one you want to leave. Start with that and move back from it. What do you want people talking about? What do you want them to have liked? What do you want them to ask you about? And move backwards from that. Fill the time you have. Think about how you want to show it. That's the best advice I can give you for showcasing your work. But these are questions that only you can answer. So I hope this helps everybody, and I hope, Shakirovich Dev, that this answered your question.